The opening ceremony is very simple. In addition to those who are immortal temples, such as Jin Xuanbai, the important guests are Dongshan King. Yi Ming found his wife and daughter for King Dongshan. He was very grateful and very supportive of Yi Ming Kaishan. What Yi Ming didn't expect is that not only Zhu Xuanbai came, but Yu Shi, Zhao Xin, Ding Wei and others all came to congratulate them. They even brought a gift from the Immortal Temple, 100 million long-lived coins. After the excitement, the crowds retreated, and those disciples who came to Tianyuan with Yi Ming had initially adapted to the environment in the past few days. At first, when they saw Valkyrie and even the gods, they all trembled, and now they are much better. In Yanwutang, Yi Ming swept through his 8 autobiographical disciples, Tang Sheng, Francisco, Gandhi, Bai Hanyi, Wu Por, Su Zizhen, Pan Long, and Odin. Yi Ming laughed. What are your thoughts and opinions in these days? Tang Sheng said with emotion. Until now, I didn't know how big the world was. Bai Hanyi. There are people outside of us, and there is a sky outside, we are too weak. Wu Chong's view is even more extreme. Compared to people here, we are just like ants, no, not even ants. Yi Ming listened to the words of the crowd and said, of course, one cannot be arrogant, but one cannot be arrogant. As a teacher, I can tell you that in the near future, you will all become the power of the Tianyuan continent. After these things make you look up today, the future look at you in turn, and they will never have a chance to surpass you all their lives. Quote. After listening to Yi Ming's encouragement, everyone was shocked. Pan Long asked, Master, next, how do we cultivate? Yi Ming said lightly, abandon the practice and start again. What? Everyone was taken aback and looked at Yi Ming inconceivably. Yi Ming said lightly, on the earth, your foundation is too weak and the foundation is not strong. How can you step into a stronger realm in the future? You can rest assured that taking your practice for your teacher will not hurt your body, more will not affect spiritual practice. Quote. Although there are so many, everyone has worked hard to achieve today's achievements, I really do not want to give up once. However, their lives were hard to break, and they still chose to believe in Yi Ming. In order to go further and become stronger, no effort is worth it, Yi Ming said to Gandhi. In my knowledge, most of the Tianyuan mainland are descendants of the Han people. Some of you want to change the name. I decided that the disciples of Tiandaomen should take Yuan, Zhen, Li, and Heng as their ranks. Gandhi, you it will be called Gan Yuanjian in the future. Odin, you will be called Yi Yuanwang in the future. Francisco, you will be called Yi Yuanlang in the future. Quote. The three got new people, they were all happy, they thanked Yi Ming one after another. Tang Sheng laughed. Then I will be Tang Yuanshang. Wu Por said. My nickname is Ji, and here I am called Wu Yuan. So Su Zizhen was renamed Su Yuanjun and Pan Long was renamed Pan Yuanlong. That Bai Hanyi, like Wu Por, is more Bai Yuanxian. Tang Yuansheng was called to the first, Yi Ming said. Presumably you also feel that the Tianyuan continent has not been suppressed, so your spiritual practice will be very fast. It is like a person who has suffered too much and is now entering a rich and noble life. State, the body will quickly gain weight. But this is not a good thing, so I ask you to reach the extreme at every small level. So next, you must cultivate according to the situation of my year. This process will be very difficult, I hope you will be mentally prepared. Quote. Tang Yuansheng said, Master, rest assured, if we see and endure hardships, we won't be able to get to where we are today. Yi Ming smiled. That's what it says. That's it, you're ready. Snapped. Yi Ming struck Tang Yuansheng's shoulder with one palm. A gentle, silky force penetrated into his body, breaking up all his skills for decades of hard work. He seemed to be drunk, shook it a few times, and fell to the ground with relief. Yi Ming said, demobilization is a temporary phenomenon and it can be restored in a quarter of an hour. At that time, I will teach you the true way of cultivation. Next, the remaining 7 disciples were also taken away by Yi Ming for repair. As Yi Ming said, After a quarter of an hour, the 8 people resumed their truthfulness, at least as ordinary people. Yi Ming said, "Practicing martial arts requires excellent physical fitness, so in the next 6 months, I will train you to raise a god. I didn't have such good treatment as a teacher that year, you must know how to cherish." What he called Pei Yuan was to train 8 people by all means, such as infusion of medicinal solution, oral administration of elixir, vigorous massage and amulet assistance. The entire process consumes a lot of resources. To complete this process, everyone needs at least hundreds of millions of martial arts coins. Fortunately, this money is nothing to Yi Ming and will not make him bankrupt. You have to train your disciples, so Yi Ming has almost no time to cultivate, but he can clearly feel that the trip to the earth has brought him a huge change. Before he knew it, he already had a medium-quality Taoism and soul. The improvement is far greater than the original comparison. Even the physical body has become several times stronger. Occasionally, in his spare time, Yi Ming continued to prepare his physical body for micro-engraving. Previously, he embossed his skin on the skin, and then he embossed his muscles on the skin. This step was much more difficult and painful. What's more troublesome is that this time the consumption is greater than the last time. At least it will cost billions of Chengsheng coins. At present he doesn't have so much money, so this matter can only be put on hold. After half a year, it was fleeting. After Yi Ming spent great effort and resources, the 8 disciples built their foundations and formally set foot on the practice of martial arts. Even if Yi Ming was mentally prepared, he was still scared by the speed of his practice. Take Tang Sheng as an example. In just 7 days, the ultimate of the martial arts was reached. After that, the samurai ultimate took 9 days, the warrior ultimate took half a month, the great warrior extreme took 1 month, and the martial arts extreme only took 2 months. Here, the rest are not bad. They all reached the ultimate level of Wuzong within half a year, and it seems that it won't take long to break through Wuzun. At this moment, Yi Ming was under pressure. While letting 8 people continue to practice, he also hurriedly cultivated the 9 gods. Before that, his 9 gods change was only the first change, and now he decided to impact the second change. He wanted to see if returning from the earth would help practice. In the practice room, he sat on the ground and just practiced for a moment. Then he felt that the primordial spirit was restless, and it seemed that he was about to enter a metamorphic state. No, right, can you break through so soon? The situation exceeded expectations. He actually broke through easily. Yuan Shen further sublimated, the power of Yuan Shen reached the amazing power of the 10 dragons. Of course, in the process, he consumed tens of billions of Valkyrie coins. If he were not rich, he would be able to make a fortune. With the change of Yuanshen, Yi Ming's strength has increased more than a few times. When he thinks of it, time and space will stagnate. Ascension of the Yuanshen, Yi Ming kept on, and took the opportunity to impact the 9-turn gold body, which is the third most important thing. This 9-turn gold body is a perfect match for the Yuanshen 9 changes, one for the physical body and one for the soul. His 9-turn gold body, which previously reached the 3rd turn, now breaks through Wuzun and can finally practice the 4th turn. The gold body turned 4 times and needed several precious gods. Yi Ming checked the price and barely enough money. This immediately made him a big head, and felt that it was necessary to make more money in the near future, otherwise he could not afford himself and Tiandaomen. 1 year after Yi Ming returned to Tianyuan's continent, he successfully reached 4 rounds of golden body, and his physical body was raised to a horrible level. Next, to break through the 5 turns of the golden body, you need to reach Wu Shangshou. Bai Yuanxian and others have reached Wuzong Extreme this year. After a period of consolidation, they did not enter Wuzun until they were allowed by Yi Ming. After becoming Wuzong, Yi Ming asked them to practice a series of exercises such as the Supreme Gong and the 9 changes in heaven. I have to say that the consumption of practicing these exercises is extremely alarming, and Yi Ming felt strenuous at the moment. No choice but to let the disciples practice, he went down the mountain to find a way of wealth. Dongshan King's mansion. Dongshan King Shen Yuanyi's mood is very good. This year he has been trying to teach his wife and daughter to practice. Both mother and daughter progress rapidly. After learning that Yi Ming was coming, Dongshan Wang laughed and said, "Brother, it's not endless to cultivate disciples like you." Yi Ming smiled bitterly. "No way, I know the hardship of practice. They can eat less and eat less. At least, I have to provide them with practice to martial arts, otherwise it will be difficult to establish a foothold in the world." Shen Yuan nodded his head. "Okay. I just want to make a lot of money and take a lot of risks. Fortunately, your brother is so strong that you should be sure." Yi Ming's eyes brightened. "Brother Shen," said quickly. Together, Shen Yuan said, "The rule of the 5 elements gods is basically stable. There are 5 dynasties. The gods are very prosperous now. The former Zhongdu has now become the capital of the gods, and even the 4 capitals are companion capitals. There is a kind of fighting arena with the accompanying capital, with a large number of participants. In some high-end venues, the gambling capital of each round is as high as tens of billions of vals." Yi Ming frowned. Hundreds of billions of martial arts coins or only hundreds of thousands of long-lived coins? Shen Yuanyi rolled his eyes and said, "I don't have so much tax in Dongshan for a year. You don't think it is too small?" Yi Ming smiled bitterly. Before he was sitting on a wealthy man, his views on wealth were very different from ordinary people. Shen Yuan shook his head. "It seems that you want a fortune, brother." Yi Ming nodded. "Yes." Shen Yuanyi thought for a while and suddenly said, "By the way, I got a message that from last year, the army of the demon tribe has started a small-scale war with the 5 elements gods, and the gods have suffered heavy losses. So from this year, the 5 elements dynasty changed its strategy, allowing mercenary teams to be established everywhere." Quote. Yi Ming. Brother Shen's point. Let me set up a mercenary team. Then kill for the 5 elements. The rewards given by the 5 elements god dynasty are very generous. Killing a demon ****** in the Law and 1 realm can get 1 billion martial arts coins. Law 2 in the realm can get 200 million coins. Law 3 can get 400 million. By analogy, 9 realms of law and heaven amounts to 25.56 billion Wuxian coins. Yi Ming felt that it was a way of wealth. With his current strength, it was not difficult to fight against the demon god of Fa in this troubled world. It was a way to make money. Moreover, the demon tribe invaded Tianyuan continent, and he did his part to do so, but he still had doubts in his heart. Quote. Brother Shen, there shouldn't be so many demon gods to kill in the demon clan, right? Shen Yuanyi. Brother, you don't know. The demons are very powerful. They claim to have 100,000 monster gods. In addition to the monster gods, for every 10,000 monster soldiers killed, you can get 100 million martial arts coins. Brother, you are good at killing formations. This kind of small money can also be made. Quote. Yi Ming asked, "Where is the current battlefield?" Occupy is not in the Tianyuan continent, but is located in the Tianyuan continent. That demon continent belonged to the core area in the era of the ancestral continent and was rich in resources. At present, the 5 elements gods are attacking there with full force. Because of this, the two sides will rise their conflict. Yi Ming, is there only a demon on the mainland? Not only. In addition to the demons, there are demons and blood races. What's more terrible is that there are a lot of ancient fierce beasts living on it. I even heard people say that that day the demonic continent was a super civilized hunting ground. After a while, they will go hunting. Shen Yuan said, so the 5 elements gods did not want to occupy it, they just wanted to get some resources. Yi Ming. It's a super civilized hunting ground. So the beasts there must be terrible. There are opportunities in dangerous places. Compared to the rewards for killing opponents, I value the resources over there. It is said that some magical immortals are everywhere in Tianyao mainland. You can just pick some, which are worth more than hundreds of millions. Wuxian coin. Quote. Shen Yuan said, I think with your strength, you should be competent, at least you have the opportunity to protect yourself. Yi Ming nodded. Even if the mercenary regiment is set up, my disciples will be treasured, and I will never let them out before becoming a martial arts saint. This time, I will go by myself. During my time away, please take care of Brother Shen. Dongshan Wang laughed. You can rest assured at this point, as long as it is in Dongshan, no one will find trouble with Tiandaomen. Yi Ming immediately returned to Tiandaomen to explain, and went to Shendu that day. Shendu was originally the Zongdu of the Haotu dynasty, but now it has become more prosperous. The capital of the dynasty is built here, and the capital of Haotianism is also built here. Therefore, after Yi Ming entered the divine dynasty, he secretly contacted the Sky Fox god. At first, he was forced to leave Haotian education to let the Sky Fox god stay, so that they could take care of Marong Shuijiao and Wu Chenying. In an inn in Chengdu, Tianyu God appeared with his 3 daughters. In addition to Marong and Wu Chenying, even Yan Ruyu came. Everyone hasn't seen it in years, and this reunion is a joy. The Marong Shuijiao even hugged Yi Ming directly and cried, I want to die. Yi Ming smiled. If you want me, kiss me. Marong Shuijiao gave him a white look and said, I want to be beautiful. Even though she said so, her face was grinning. And by Yi Ming has seen the Sky Fox god. Tian Fox god saw Yi Ming, nodded with satisfaction, and said, yes, you practice fast, you are already Wu Zun, and you must be Wu Sheng in the near future. Yi Ming glanced at Marong Shuijiao and sighed, Shuijiao is already a martial arts sage, and I'm going to be able to advance to martial arts soon. Marong Shuijiao said, my master is the son-in-law, of course faster than you. But Sister Chenying is not slow, she has already advanced to martial arts. Wu Chenying said, the martial arts road is too difficult, and I just entered it. Sky Fox God. Yi Ming, what are your plans to come to God? Yi Ming then said about joining the mercenary. Tianyu Shinto. The gods are indeed sending troops to the Heaven Demon continent, and Heio Qianzhao has also participated. It is the 8th that sends the person himself. 8 Lord, the 8th son of Haotian god. Yi Ming narrowed his eyes. His great inheritance was captured by this man god of the fox. That's right, that's the 8th god. Today's Haotian leader is one of his GG, named Nalan Yingning. Yi Ming was taken aback. He remembered that Nalan Yingning was a widow and a person on the Tianxiang spectrum. How did she become the grandfather of the 8th Lord? God of the Fox, do you know the Tianxiang spectrum? The 8th Lord was extremely extravagant and expensive, and used countless forces to search for portraits of beauties across the entire Tianyuan continent, and reworked the Tianxiang spectrum. The new Tianxiang spectrum has 81. Every beauty is beautiful, and Nalan Yingning ranks 73. Speaking of Tianxiang spectrum, Sky Fox God looked worried. Xiao Yu ranked 24th and Wu Xianying ranked 36th. They were afraid they would become the target of the Protestant. So I'm preparing to take them away from Haotian in a while. Teach. Yi Ming was shocked and angry. This guy really can play. Does he want to receive all the women on the Tianxiang spectrum to the harem? God of the Fox. Yes, and it's already implemented. By the way, that Luo Bingxian, Feng Yi, Zhang Shui are also on the list. Marong Shuijiao said. Fortunately, there is no me on it. Yi Ming. It seems that I really want to leave. My Tiandaomen is currently short of elders. If Aunt Bai doesn't give up, how about going to be an elder to protect me? The Sky Fox God laughed. I want a lot of Lulu, can you afford it? Yi Ming smiled. Yanlu is not a problem. Xiao Yu, Chenying and Shuijiao can also be elders and help me manage my disciples. Wu Chenying said, Yi Ming, you established a martial art. Where did the disciples choose? It is not surprising that Wu Chenying is curious. Nowadays, talented disciples have been divided up by the 4 gods and 9 holy places, and the remaining qualified ones have been snatched away by the major religions and schools early. Yi Ming wants to accept some qualified disciples, that is really difficult. But she couldn't think of anything. Yi Ming's disciples all came from the earth where the human race was born. Yi Ming. My disciples are all geniuses. The 9 disciples are all Taoists, and most of the ordinary disciples are of top quality. Even if they are miscellaneous disciples, they are mostly Chinese quality. His words scared the Sky Fox god. What? Such a good qualification. Yi Ming smiled and said, how? Everyone can be moved. Wu Chenying said in surprise. If this is the case, if time goes by, Tiandao goalkeeper will be above the 9 holy places. Even hundreds of years later, it can become the existence of the 4 gods. Sky Fox's eyes were bright and he said, okay, I'm set on this protection. Xiao Yu will follow me. Yi Ming was overjoyed. It's great. When I return, I will take some to Tiandaomen. Wu Chenying. Although I am teaching in Haoshan, I am also a great general of the divine dynasty. If you want to go to the heaven demon land, you can follow me. Who came? Chan. Yi Mingyi. Chenying, are you a general? Wu Chenying nodded. Don't forget, I was originally a general of the Qinglong dynasty. After the Qinglong dynasty belonged to the divine dynasty, my military membership is still natural, and naturally I became a general. And a few days later, I will lead the army into Tianyao continent. As a general, I have the right to seize the generals around me. Yi Ming smiled. This is the best way, I can go with you. Kill the enemy, and you will receive the reward for me. My Chenying. I can give you the status of a mercenary. After winning the head, I will apply for the reward. God of the Fox. There are still a few days, you young people get together, I will not disturb. Then, she squeezed her eyes to Yi Ming. Yi Ming was rather embarrassed, and he said to her that she was asking him to hit her daughter. One of the most luxurious restaurants in Chengdu, Yi Ming feasted on Wu Chenying, Yan Ruyu and Marong Shuijiao. The 4 haven't seen each other for a long time and have endless words. Talking about the place. Suddenly someone came in when he saw this man. Yi Ming was overjoyed and stood up so loudly, Ma Shanchao. The Comer was the genius Ma Shanchao who came out of the war civilization. At first he followed Yi Ming and served as the Grand Marshal in Haoshan education. Later, after the incident, he fled for the FIRST time, but he did not expect to meet him here. Ma Shanchao stepped forward and met. Master. Yi Ming hurriedly lifted him up and said with emotion, Shang Chao, I didn't expect to see you again. Ma Shanchao said, I knew things weren't good that day, so I fled for the first time. Some time ago, I came across Wu Chenying by chance, and it was she who passed the news and sent me here. Yi Ming glanced at Wu Chenying and said, Qian Ying, it was your message. Wu Chenying said, I know Ma Shanchao is a very human person. You should need him at this time. Yi Ming smiled bitterly. I no longer control the Haoshan religion, and Shanchao is afraid there is no place for it. Ma Shanchao looked bright and said, I heard that the principal is short of money, and Shanchao has a way to make money. Yi Mingyi. How to make money? Ma Shanchao. Yes. The entire Tianyuan continent is the only one who is qualified to buy warships from war civilizations. Why don't the protagonists take advantage of war to sell warships? Yi Mingqi said. Did the war civilization not sell warships to the outside world? If we sell, we are afraid that the profit will not be great. Ma Shanchao laughed. Don't forget that. I am the agent out of the civilization of war. I can get the preferential price that others can't get. Yi Ming remembered suddenly, saying, I remember you said that you can get 15% off with a total of more than 100 billion long-lived coins. Ma Shanchao said, if you exceed 50 billion yuan, you can get a 10% discount, and if you exceed 1 trillion yuan, you can make a 20% discount. This discount is not available to outsiders, so the protagonist is profitable. Yi Ming's eyes lit up and he said, it's a way to make money. There are hundreds of billions of long-lived coins. We need to have some money first. Ma Shanchao. In fact, small forces like the Five Elements gods want to buy war weapons, they often have to buy from 2 or even 3 traffickers. The price they buy is often much higher than the real price. For example, a 5-star warship. We buy it at full price, and one ship is worth 3 million yuan. However, if a small force like the Five Elements gods buys it from an arms dealer, it will cost at least 5 million yuan, or even tens of millions of yuan. Quote. Yi Ming laughed. So, we are profitable. Well, I will go to Tianyao mainland first and earn a fortune, and save this startup capital. Ma Shanchao said. The principal is here, and Xian Chao is willing to follow. As long as we can make billions of long-lived coins, this business can slowly be done. Yi Ming couldn't help asking. Shang Chao, I think you can make money with this method before you meet me. I didn't know that. Ma Shanchao shook his head again and again. The protagonist, you are wrong. Without the protagonist, the War Council will not sell me a discount weapon. War Council. Yi Ming narrowed his eyes. It seems that the civilization of war is to support me intentionally. What is their intention? Ma Shanchao laughed. It's very simple. I gave a report to the War Council, saying that the protagonist is a person who has at least the potential of the emperor, so the protagonist is taken very seriously. As the protagonist's strength increases, the influence of as the growth grows, the concessions I can fight for will grow larger. The reason why the War Council supports the principal is because the appearance of the principal will bring war. Where there is a war, the demand for weapons will further enhance the civilization of war. Can even say that when a civilization is strong enough, the civilization of war can be completely dependent on it to develop. Yi Ming said. You said before that war civilization has been supporting the emergence of powerful civilizations. But what do you mean by the potential of the emperor? Ma Shanchao. War civilization divides people's valuable potential into 3 levels: ministerial level, king level, and emperor level. Among them, the minister level divides 9 grades into 1 grade. The king level divides the king ranks first, the king ranks middle, and the king ranks as for the emperor level. The emperor and the emperor are divided into 2 categories. The potential of the emperor level is already a very powerful potential, which means that the protagonist will be at least the god level power in the future. Quote. Yi Mingqi said. You are so sure. In case you look away, shouldn't you be punished? Ma Shanchao said indifferently. Agents like us who come out are either rich or noble, more than 1 billion people, or they must not die. How miserable they are. But I believe the protagonist will become peerless man. I believe in my own vision and more in the strength of the protagonist. Quote. Yi Ming finally understood why Ma Shanchao was dead to him. The other party has completely tied his life and death to him. The two are prosperous and prosperous. Yi Ming patted him on the shoulder and said, I assure you that one day in the future, you will be proud of your choice today. Wu Chenying laughed. Yi Ming, we also believe in you. You have been creating miracles, and you will be more brilliant in the future. Yan Ruyu clenched her powder boxing and said, Yes, Ming brother, you will succeed. Become a god-level powerhouse. Murong Shuijiao grinned. Yes, when I was at Dongqi College, I felt that you were definitely not in the pool. Today I believe more in the original judgment. Come, let's have a drink for Ming's future. Said then, he raised his glass, the 5 of them drank 1 drink, but Ma Shanchao didn't stay long, saying, Sir, I have some private matters to deal with, and I'll see you tomorrow again. Yi Ming. What do you need, but can you help? Ma Shanchao's expression was a bit contorted, saying, I can handle this myself. Although the two have known each other for a short time, Yi Ming knows the nature of this follower quite well. Even if there is something big, he will not tell others, especially his protagonist. He couldn't help sneering. Ma Shanchao, aren't you going to tell me? Maybe, you suspect that the eyesight of your protagonist can't even see the worries on others' faces. Ma Shanchao smiled bitterly and thought for a while, and had to be honest. Master, don't hide it. After I escaped from Heoqianjiao some time ago, I encountered a woman. Before that, I never believed in love at first sight. At first glance, I felt she was the woman I would love for my whole life. Quote. Yi Ming laughed. It turns out that you are the girl in the picture. What happened then? Ma Shanchao sighed lightly. The girl has a family background, and our affairs are known to her family. It turned out that the family had arranged her marriage, so she was very annoyed at me, and even sent someone to hunt me down. But the family also imprisoned her and will be sent to marry tomorrow. Quote. Yi Ming sneered. Hello, you are also martial arts. The real strength can even kill Fa Tianqian. What kind of family history can force you back? Ma Shanchao said. The other party is the daughter of the Lord of the Sword Pond, called He Jing. Yi Ming stunned. Your boy actually liked the daughter of the Lord. Interesting, really interesting. Ma Shanchao smiled bitterly. Just to laugh at me, the Lord of the Sword Pond is the power of the eternal life, and I am not an opponent at all. Yi Ming still sneered. Knowing that you are not your opponent, then tell me, what are you doing here? See the other side. I don't give up, I want to try it for the last time. Ma Shanchao clenched his fists. I can't give up He Jing anyway. Yi Ming sighed. If I don't ask, you're just afraid to go back this time. Ma Shanchao bowed his head and felt very guilty, saying, Master, if I can't even protect my own woman, will not be eligible to stay with her. Fart, is your father-in-law vegetarian? Yi Ming was furious. You have no choice, can't I do nothing? Ma Shanchao was ecstatic and jumped up suddenly. What can I do? Yi Ming angrily. Sit down. Ma Shanchao sat down obediently. Baba looked at Yi Ming, hoping he could come up with a good idea. Yi Mingshan said, I ask you, where is He Jing? Ma Shanchao. The ice cave in the holy land of Jiangxi is guarded by experts and has strong restrictions. Yi Ming. As long as you know the place, it is not difficult to save people. Ma Shanchao patted his head. How did I forget that the protagonist is very proficient in the prohibition? Yi Ming. In the end, as long as the caretaker is resolved, everything will be easy. Then the caretaker, do you know who it is? How strong is it? Ma Shanchao had reconnaissance early and immediately said, the other party's name is He Zhang. He is the elder brother of He Jing. Yi Ming. How much do you know about that? Ma Shanchao said. He Jing told me that her elder brother likes Lu Piaopiao, a female disciple in Jiangxi. Lu Piaopiao. Yi Ming was shocked. He remembered that the woman had met at the sword fight meeting. Later, he took advantage of each other in the Eight Kings pool, where the relics of the Buddha were hidden, leaving behind a romantic debt. Ma Shanchao saw Yi Ming's expression wrong, and carefully asked, Master, do you recognize her? Yan Ruyu glanced at Yi Ming and said, Brother Ming, she won't be Lao Shang, okay. Yi Ming blame her. Nonsense. Wu Chenying pouted and smiled. Yi Ming, you're just afraid to sacrifice your hue. She actually noticed something. Yi Ming coughed. Knowledge is knowledge, but not too familiar. It's easy to know. Ma Shanchao was overjoyed. The Lord can ask her for help and led away from that, so we can save people. Yi Ming was a little embarrassed. He felt that Lu Piaopiao was afraid of him and had no good feelings. However, for the sake of Ma Shanchao, he could only hold his nose to try it. He couldn't think of other ways. With that in mind, he nodded. Well, I'll try it. Because they were rushing to Jiangxi, everyone hurriedly ended the banquet, and Yi Ming and Ma Shanchao rushed to Jiangxi non-stop. The two limped quickly and arrived that night, observing not far from the gate of Jiangxi Mountain. For a moment, Yi Ming saw a martial arts come out of the door and left in a hurry. I wonder what he did. When the other party walked away, he immediately urged Ruyi Robe to become exactly the same character, and ordered Ma Shanchao, and the man walked towards the mountain gate. The goalkeeper disciple saw Yi Ming's person return and returned, so he bowed and asked, how did Zhao Wuzun forget to take things? Yi Ming was in a hurry, and with a hum, a man passed through the gate and no one dared to stop him. He had previously entered the sword pond by pretending to be Long Xiaobai, and he was relatively familiar with it, and soon found the ice cave. Cold Ice Cave is located in the back of Jiangxi Mountain. It is a cave that has been accumulated for many years and is specially used for detaining the wrong disciples. He glanced at it from a distance, and sure enough he saw a young man sitting outside the cave, presumably what happened. He didn't dare to come too close, and turned to look for Lu Piaopiao. In his impression, Lu Piaopiao is one of the core disciples of Zhanqi, living in Tianjian Palace. Tianjian Palace is a place where core disciples live. Genius disciples like Zuo Wangdu and Lu Piaopiao are all here. The person disguised by Yi Ming has a considerable status in Zhanqi, so when someone saw him coming, he didn't ask questions, but stopped to see him from a distance. Yi Ming just nodded and went straight to Tianjian Palace. The Heavenly Sword Palace is built on a high peak that rises into the clouds, overlapping and winding around the peak. The higher the building above it, the higher the status of the disciples living in it, like Zuo Wangdu. He lives near the top. The place where Lu Piaopiao lives is almost on the top of the mountain, second only to Zuo Douhuang. It was a small hexagonal building with a courtyard in the back, quiet and quiet. When he reached the peak, a disciple saw Yi Ming and asked him why he came to Tianjian Palace. Yi Ming said that he was looking for Lu Piaopiao, and asked if he was there. The disciple replied that Lu Piaopiao had not gone out for several months and had been practicing hard in the temple where she was. Knowing this news, he was relieved secretly. If Lu Piaopiao was not in the holy land of Zhanqi, he would have no way. The hall is not large, but there is everything in it. At the entrance of the hall, Yi Ming saw that the door was tightly closed, and there was no prohibition outside. He then opened the door. As soon as the door opened a slit, a big white dog jumped out and yelled at Yi Ming. However, it only opened its mouth, and Yi Ming's eyes shot a ray of cold mang, and the big white dog's head shrank back, and he lay on the ground without moving. Yi Ming grinned at the big white dog and went in. Entering the temple, the inside was dark and there were no fingers. However, Yi Ming's nose smelled a faint aroma. This aroma is unique to women, very light, but also pleasant. Before Yi Ming had time to let go of his thoughts, he felt a sharp sword stab and suddenly pierced his throat. He stretched his finger a little, directly hit the sword chi, secretly urged the finger of the god. The sword array released a ray of sword gas, and immediately killed the sword energy that was killed. Who? A familiar voice sounded. Yi Ming knew that there was no need to conceal at this time, and immediately said, "I, Yi Ming." Yi Ming. The other's voice suddenly increased, and then asked coldly, "What are you doing?" "I want to ask for your help." Yi Ming could only bite the bullet and said, "It's a joke. You asked me to help you. Are we friends?" The other asked. Yi Ming sighed. "I thought it was before." Suddenly, the whole hall lighted up. A woman in white clothes fluttered towards him. It was Lu Piaopiao. Lu Piaopiao is even more beautiful than she was at the beginning. The whole person has an indescribable temperament, and she has also made amazing progress in cultivation. She is already a martial artist. Yi Minggan smiled. "Girl Lu, it's been a long time. If you were my friend, you wouldn't call me Lu. Actually, we don't even know acquaintances, do we?" Lu Piaopiao said in a very cold tone. Yi Ming was silent, wondering if he could leave, but thinking of Ma Shanchao, he could only grit his teeth again, and said, "Lu Piaopiao, I was wrong in the pond last time, but I didn't mean to watch your body." Don't you dare to say it. Lu Piaopiao was furious, raised his hand, and the sky was attacked by the sword. Yi Ming just swung his sleeves, and the countless sword chi suddenly changed direction and rushed into the place. Just before he waved at will, he used the power of induction to make the enemy's forces change direction and all broke into the ground. Lu Piaopiao was surprised and said, "I didn't expect you to be so strong." Yi Ming. "To be honest, I have something to do and you must help." "Help can be done at a price," Lu Piaopiao said. When Yi Ming heard a play, he nodded quickly, "Of course." "You don't ask what the price is." The other stared at him. Yi Ming smiled. "You never want to kill me. It's too bad." Lu Piaopiao said lightly, "It's not easy." Yi Ming. "As long as it's not an excessive price, I can accept it." Zuo Duangri and his master came to give a wedding gift, but I don't want to marry him, and I can't quit, so you have to help me. Yi Mingqi said. Zuo Duhuang proposed marriage. But your status is not bad, can't you decide your own destiny? I have any status. The other side sneered. The Zuo Do is a disciple of the Holy Lord, he is authentic. Yi Ming touched his chin, and felt that this matter was quite a headache. How can I help you? I can't kill Zuo Do Huang, right? You don't need to kill someone, you will insult him in front of me. Zuo Du Huang has strong self-esteem. As long as you can insult him, he will have no face to propose to me. The strength is against the sky, and it can certainly be done. Yi Ming thought for a while, and thought there was nothing difficult about it. He fought against Zuo Do Huang, who was able to outdo the other, and now he can do it even better. However, he always felt that this matter didn't seem to be so easy on the surface, so he couldn't help asking, I think Zuo Do is good. He has good qualifications, and he is not ugly, and you are the same. Why don't you like him? Lu Piao said coldly, do you like eating shit? Yi Ming was furious. Hey! Can you speak politely? Lu Piao said. The thing that Zuo Duhuang did was more disgusting than eating shit. Would you like this kind of person? Men rarely like men. Yi Ming was intrigued. What has he done? Speak to hear. Lu Piao looked disgusted, and said, I don't want to talk about him. Lu Piao looked disgusted, and said, I don't want to talk about him. You just want to help me. Yi Ming snapped his fingers and said, of course I have to help you. Even if I don't ask you to do something, as a friend, I have to help. Lu Piao snorted. Slick tongue. Yi Ming quickly closed his mouth. He felt that this woman was taking the wrong medicine, and she was eating gunpowder, which broke out at every turn. He still made little trouble. But, in what capacity do I appear? I am not from Jiangxi. Will your teacher be bad for me? Yi Ming said what was most worrying about him, in case any of the elders of Jiangxi was angry. Cut him off, but then he just ignored it. Lu Piao looked at Yi Ming with a strange expression. Don't tell me, you don't know how valuable the disciples' signboard is. Yi Ming froze. Yeah, but he is a disciple of the Immortal Temple, and is known by the world as invincible at the same level, sweeping the existence of all the top geniuses in the Tianyuan continent. What is he afraid of? Jiangxi knew his existence and was afraid that he would come to him to stop him and never dare to do it. Then we have agreed, and you will stay here for a while until the Zuo Do Huang appears. When Lu Piao spoke, a strange flash of color flashed in his eyes. I wondered what he was thinking. Yi Ming had to agree, but the dark paint in the temple was blackened. He felt uncomfortable and said, can you light up? Bat. In the darkness, a light came on, and a woman in a palace costume slowly walked. With bare feet, her face was a little pale, and her long hair was dangling. Yi Ming's look was so beautiful that she couldn't look away for a moment. Lu Piao walked across from Yi Ming, stared at him and asked, what are you looking at? Yi Ming grinned. You look so beautiful, I can't help but look a few more times. Huh. Lu Piao twisted his cheeky face, and then sat down slowly, looking slightly sad. Yi Ming also sat down and asked, floating, can I call you like that? Lu Piao fluttered indifferently. It's up to you. Yi Ming smiled and said, Flippling, you have made great progress, you are already martial arts. It's far worse than you. You can stand out among the geniuses of the 4 gods and the 5 elements. The reputation alone can make countless women bow down. Lu Piao wondered whether it was satire or praise. Yi Ming sighed. It's not a good thing to be famous. I almost lost the 5-element emperor's scheme, and Baba ran to Dongshan to be the grandfather. Then he said the situation of Dongshan King today. Lu Piao said in surprise. Ziho is actually a power of the 5 realms. Yi Ming. Yeah, I was shocked. If I weren't smart, I might have been killed. Lu Piao smiled bitterly. If you don't become a asterisk 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 of war, you will be a ant. Yi Mingzeng said. But even if it became a martial arts god, how far can the martial arts road go? Most people still choose Shintoism. Lu Piaopiao said proudly. I will definitely make a martial arts journey for the reference of the world. Yi Ming was startled. Although he was also a person with such a desire, but he heard a similar ideal from a woman's mouth, he couldn't help but be surprised and inspiring, and immediately asked, floating, you are now a martial artist. What's your opinion? Quote. Lu Piaopiao's eyes immediately warmed up and said, Yi Ming, I think some martial arts seniors may be wrong. Oh, what's wrong with them? Yi Ming asked quickly. Yi Ming. From ancient times to the present, all warriors have gone to extremes, either behind closed doors to build cars and explore by themselves, or they have borrowed from Shinto or other civilizations in their entirety to make something out of nothing. Is this wrong? Yi Ming asked. Of course not. The road to martial arts must not be confined to a certain civilization, nor can it be built behind closed doors. It should be a civilization that can be grafted on all major civilizations. Didn't you find that either Shinto or immortal civilization, no matter the Confucian civilization, every civilization respects the technique of killing? The way of killing is the true meaning of martial arts. Quote. Lu Piaopiao talked arrogantly. No longer cold. Yi Ming repeatedly nodded. You have a good idea, but who can touch so many civilizations? So this is a long process that requires the joint efforts of countless Valkyrie and hard work to achieve. Lu Piaopiao said, so, I have already joined Valkyrie Valley a year ago, I suggest you also join. Only Wu in order to help the people in martial arts, Kamiya. Quote. Yi Ming did not expect that Lu Piaopiao was also from Wushan Valley. He laughed. It's true, I have the same idea, but I am still low at the moment. I won't be eligible to enter Wushan Valley until Wu Sheng. Lu Piaopiao rarely smiled. Yes, did not read you wrong. Oh, what do you think of me? Yi Ming asked with a smile. When Lu Piaopiao got up, she shook her face again and again. I thought you were a bastard. Yi Ming was speechless. Why offend this one again? The two continued to exchange martial arts thoughts, and it dawned on them unknowingly. Outside the gate of Zhanqi, Ma Shanchao shook his head anxiously and muttered to himself, the protagonist won't sleep with the girl Lu. Otherwise, why not come out? Alas, the main princess is the protagonist, and he can take it right away. Things are done. Quote. After a few words, Yi Ming said about He Jing, hoping that she would lead away. When Lu Piaopiao heard about it, it was about sympathy for the sick, and he immediately said, I'll help you with this busy work. Yi Ming. It's not too late, let's act immediately. You go to lead He Zhong away, and I will act like He Zhong and take away He Jing. After the two sides reached a consensus, they acted immediately. In front of the ice cave, He Zhong couldn't sit still, like an iron forge. Suddenly, when a fragrant wind came, he couldn't help shaking his eyebrows, then opened his eyes. I saw a beautiful woman, smiling and standing opposite. Piaopiao Shimei. He quickly stood up, overjoyed. Why are you here? Lu Piaopiao sighed quietly, and said, Brother He, the Zuo Do Huang will be unmarried tomorrow. I'm not happy and want to find someone to talk for a while. He suddenly said angrily, the Zuo Do Huang counts ass. The old things are really blind. How can he Zuo Do Huang deserve to be a sister? I'll go to them. Don't. Lu Piaopiao grabbed He Zhong. I just want to talk to someone. He was stunned by Lu Piaopiao. He likes Lu Piaopiao for many years. Unfortunately, he has been married to a wife and his wife's family is a asterisk 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 elder. But even so, at this moment, my heart is still swaying and I cannot hold myself. Lu Hezhong was taken away from the ice cave by Lu Piaopiao, and soon after the two left, Yi Ming entered like a ghost. After looking at the cave for a moment, he swung his fingers together, and the power of the Yuan Shen was as strong as a wire, quickly cracking the prohibition. Outside the cave, there was only a small ban, and Yi Ming easily broke into the ban and flashed in the cold and the cave hit people. Even his Wu Zun shrank his neck, and felt that if he stayed here for a long time, he would inevitably suffer. Within a few steps, I saw an ice-carved ice couch with a woman sitting there. The woman felt someone approaching, opened her eyes, and asked, "Who are you?" Yi Ming smiled. "I'm Ma Shanchao's friend. Do you want to run away?" The woman was He Jing. With her eyes brightening, she asked with surprise, "Is Shanchao here?" Yi Ming nodded. "He's outside. If you want, I'll take you to see him right away." He Jing hesitated, biting her lip and not squeaking. Yi Mingshan said, "This is the only chance for you to be together. If you give up, you'll never see him again. You have to think carefully." He Jing sighed softly. "How can I treat each other so kindly?" Yi Ming said, "You can rest assured that you can't eat tiger poison, and your parents won't blame you. No matter what mistakes you make, Ma Shanchao is very qualified and has great potential. When he becomes famous in the future, your parents are what would you say?" Quote. He Jing hesitated for a moment, and seemed to make a decision, nodded strongly, and said, "Okay, I'll follow you." Yi Ming immediately turned into He Zhong and took He Jing away. On this way, it was not surprising that someone saw the two brothers and sisters, and no one asked more. Outside the gate of the mountain, Ma Shanchao hugged He Jing and said, "Xiao Jing, you're suffering." He Jing sobbed softly and said, "Shang Chao, I hope you will not lose me in the future." Ma Shanchao also swears by heaven. Yi Ming stares. "Okay, you want Qingqing me and me, can you change to a safe place?" Ma Shanchao nodded again and again. "Master, we will contact you in 3 days." After that, he took He Jing and left. After doing this, Yi Ming returned to Lu Piaopiao's residence. She didn't wait long before she returned. Yi Ming asked, "He seems to really like you. Are you so afraid of igniting him?" Lu Piaopiao sneered. "After you have your identity tomorrow, who dares to think of me differently? Furthermore, he is famous for his wife and never dares to do anything special." Yi Ming nodded and said nothing. When Chen Yang rose, Dang made a sound, and Zongqi rang in Zhangqi. It didn't take long for Yi Ming to listen to the chaotic footsteps and talk from outside the hall, listening to men and women, old and young. He glanced at Lu Piaopiao and said, "The Battle of Zuo Do Huang is quite big. It seems that he is bound to get it." Lu Piaopiao said lightly, "If you don't help me, I have no reason to reject him." Yi Ming slowly stood up and laughed. "Well, it's time for me to get out of the way." Sure enough, after a quarter of an hour, there was a knock on the door. Someone shouted, "Sister Lu, open the door, Brother Zuo is here to propose." After that, there was a light cough again, and a slightly old voice sounded, floating, "I am Zuo Lang. I came here to pay for the dog, and your teacher is there." Lu Piaopiao slowly got up, walked to the door, and gently opened the door. The door opened, a dazzling light came in, and she narrowed her eyes slightly. The door was full of people, including the elders of Zhangqi, and brothers of the same class. Of course, most of them came to see the lively people eating watermelon. The left-handed emperor was full of spirits, holding a spirit sword in both hands, standing in the front, smiling and looking at Lu Piaopiao. However, his smile quickly freezes on his face, because he saw a person, walking out of the darkness behind Lu Piaopiao, and an old acquaintance, Yi Ming. In that year's Fighting Sword Conference, Yi Mingli overwhelmed the geniuses, taking the first place and becoming famous all over the world. That person, the world knows only Yi Ming, but not Zuo Do Huang. "Goodbye now," he suddenly angered from his heart and yelled, "Why are you here?" Yi Ming glanced at the crowd with a smile, and said, "Why can't I be here? But my woman, I live in the same room with my own woman. Isn't it all right?" Zuo Du Huang drew his sword with a bang, and screamed, "What are you talking about?" Yi Ming shook his head. "I and Piaopiao have been in love for a long time, secretly together, but you do not know about it. If it were not for your group of people, forced marriage, I may not show up today. Okay, I think you can go now. Quote. Hey, what are you doing? dare to grab a woman with his brother Zuo? The man who had called the door again spoke. Yi Ming looked at him. The other person was a young man, with thin lips and a white face, standing charmingly behind Zuo Douhuang. This kind of person Yi Ming knows nothing more than a asterisk 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 next to the strong, he said. Without talent Yi Ming, a mortal temple passed on. The fry pot was on the spot. What? This man was Yi Ming. Is that Yi Ming, who geniused against the 5 great dynasties and the 4 great gods at the contest? Someone asked loudly. Yi Ming smiled slightly. It's too much to win, it's hard to talk about it, but it's just luck and barely wins. This time, Zuo Douhuang's face was even more ugly. Yi Ming's identity and potential are far above him. He suddenly felt that he was not worthy of Lu Piaopiao. Zuo Douhuang's father, an elder of Jianqi, said in a deep voice at the moment, floating, can't you figure out? Lu Piaopiao said lightly. Elder Zuo, Yi Ming will prove his eternal life in the future, and even ask for eternity. Can I draw such a genius for Jianqi? Are you unhappy? Zuo Fu snorted hard and didn't answer. It is the master of Lu Piaopiao. A middle-aged woman smiled softly and said, Piaopiao, you actually have someone you like, why not tell the teacher early? Otherwise, it won't cause such an embarrassing situation. Douhuang, I think that's all there is to it, let's think long and hard. Quote. Zhao Menghua, what do you mean? Is it you who promised to let the emperor marry Lu Piaopiao, now you want to repent? Zuo Fu was angry and scolded loudly. Then Zhao Menghua is not a good stubble, and his status is especially above the other party. He immediately turned his face cold, and said, Elder Zuo, when did I promise you? I just said that if they are suitable, I am willing to promote good things. But you also seeing that, Lu Piaopiao already has the person she wants, and it is a genius in the temple. As a holy place, Jianqi is not a bad thing to be able to associate with the gods, do you mean? Quote. Zuo Douhuang suddenly clenched his fists and stared at Lu Piaopiao and asked, floating, is everything true? Lu Piaopiao said indifferently. Not true, is it fake? Brother Zuo, I am already his, please take care of yourself. Ha ha ha. The Zuo Douhuang was about to be stimulated, and suddenly laughed wildly, and the laughter came to an abrupt end. He stared coldly at Yi Ming and sternly said, what genius, shit. Yi Ming, how dare you fight me? Yi Ming glanced at the other person and sneered, you are a martial arts saint, challenge me to martial arts, isn't it shameless? Since you claim to be a genius, don't you dare accept my challenge. Zuo Douhuang was very arrogant and stepped forward. If you don't dare, then get me out of the sword pool. Yi Ming sighed. I saw you so shameless and shameless, okay, I will fight you as you wish. However, I remind you that if you fight with me, you will be killed or injured, the consequences can you afford it? Quote. Zuo Huangwang snorted heavily. I should say this to you. Yi Ming was too lazy to talk nonsense, and said, please, let's pick a place. Just then, a rainbow fell, and it was Lin Yusheng, the lord of Jianqi. Of course, Lin Yusheng still remembers Yi Ming. He laughed with a ha ha, and said, Yi Xiao, you came here with great joy. Yi Ming. Lin Sheng is polite, and he ventured to come and beg forgiveness. Where, Yi Xiaoyu is a descendant of divine land. It is an honor for me to come to Jianqi. Lin Yusheng said with a smile, his eyes fell on Zuo Douhuang. Intentionally or unintentionally, Zuo Douhuang frowned slightly and said, Holy Lord, you do not need to persuade me, I must participate in this battle. Funny. Lin Yusheng yelled, your grandpa asked me to bring you something, and quickly went to Qikudong to retreat. The grandfather of Zuo Douhuang is a former holy lord named Zuo Tianong. He is a powerful eternal life and has a very high status in Jianqi. Hearing this, Zuo Douhuang's body shook. He seemed very afraid of Zuo Tianong, and finally lowered his head, and said, yes. Yi Ming smiled and asked, why, stop playing. Zuo Douhuang turned suddenly and yelled, Yi Ming, one day, I will surpass you. I'm waiting, I'm afraid you can't do it. Yi Ming responded coldly. The Emperor Zuo hummed heavily, turned and strode away, and of course this battle could not be carried out. Lin Yusheng laughed. Yi Xiaoyu, we have the Lord to ask. It turned out that Lin Yusheng was only the lord in charge of foreign affairs. There was also a lord who presided over the overall situation, and his status was still above Lin Yusheng. Yi Ming had heard that the name of this holy lord is He Zhong, the biological father of He Jing and He Zhong. This person's strength is unfathomable and rarely shows up. He couldn't help whispering, what was the intention of the other party when he suddenly visited? Do you know He Jing took it by himself? Lu Piao seemed a bit worried, and secretly said, before the Lord, don't be tough. The identity of the God-born person cannot protect you. Yi Ming responded. Be assured, I know how to protect myself. An octagonal high-rise building was built in the most central area of Jianqi Holy Land. On the top of the building, there is a garden with beautiful birds and flowers. In this sky garden, a middle-aged man stands with his hands on his back and is observing a fairy grass with a smile on his face. Yi Ming appeared with Lin Yusheng and landed 10 steps away. The middle-aged person did not turn around and asked, who is your teacher? Yi Ming. I don't have a master yet. The master of the temple passed me some, and the rest was taught by my brother. Such a good qualification. There is no teacher, wasted. The middle-aged man turned slowly. He was very strange. A sarcoma with a large nail was born on the center of his eyebrow, and the oil was shining like a meat horn. Yi Ming. Seniors have won prizes, juniors are afraid to be. He zonged and said indifferently, it's not an award. You can be called the first person of the younger generation with the 4 gods and the 5 elements, and this status, such a reputation, even I was far behind. Yi Ming. Senior called Yi Ming to come, I do not know what to command. He Chong said. Before, you persuaded Lu Piao to help you. My daughter He Jing was going to marry a genius of the Eternal God Mountain. How come you tell me? Yi Ming was so big that he was spotted. He suddenly turned his mind and said, He Shengju, as a father, I don't think you want your daughter to be unhappy in life, right? Naturally. He Chong said, so I don't want to hold you accountable. But, if you ask me about my family like this, you should always give me an explanation. Yi Ming was not nervous when he heard him say this, which shows that the other party did not want to embarrass him. He shrugged. What kind of explanation did seniors want? The only reason why I want to marry He Jing into the Eternal God Mountain is to get a place to enter the Sword World. He Chongdao said, the Sword World is the place where all psychic swords gather. When you enter it, you have a chance. Find the peerless sword. Quote. Yi Ming was startled. Somewhere like the Sword World. That is, of course, there are many similar worlds, such as the Elven World, the Device World, the Medicine World, etc. Countless, but most of them are hidden in undetectable places, and we also found the way to enter the Sword World. He Zongdao, if He Jing doesn't marry into the Eternal Mountain, he won't get a place, so you have to give my husband an explanation. Yi Ming smiled bitterly. Senior, the quota is not mine. What can I do? There is a way. He Chong actually laughed. The so-called Sword World quota is actually released by several peerless Excaliburs in the Sword World. In addition to some large forces getting quotas, individuals can also participate in the Battle Sword, Will, and get a place. Quote. Oh, there is also a sword fight meeting. I don't know where it is held, how can I participate? Yi Ming came to the spirit. He had participated in a sword fighting meeting at the beginning, and was able to overpower the geniuses of Jianqikan. Now, how many years have passed, and his self-confidence in Kendo is far better than that of that year, and he overwhelms his peers. He Chongdao. This time the fighting sword will radiate a very wide range. Not only can human civilizations' meditations participate, but non-human civilizations' meditations can also participate. The location of the fighting swords is in a mysterious world controlled by the Sword World. However, not everyone can go. If you want to participate in the sword fight, you must first meet certain conditions. Those who cannot meet the conditions cannot cross the barriers of the world and will be directly bounced back. Quote. Yi Ming was extremely shocked, knowing that this battle sword society involves countless civilizations, large and small, and the entire human civilization is placed in it. I am afraid that it is not the strongest. He Zhang sighed softly and said, Yi Xiaoyu, do you understand? This fighting sword is too difficult and the risk is extremely high. Even if the top disciples of the four gods go there, they rarely have the opportunity to get a place. Quote. Yi Ming smiled bitterly. They can't, can I do it? At least you are better than them. He Chong indifferently said, the old man doesn't deceive you and gives you two choices. First, I abandon your cultivation, then recover He Jing, and then go to the immortal temple to ask for sin. Second, you represent Jianqi to claim the quota. Jianqi will no longer be held accountable for your actions. Quote. When He Zhang talked, his tone was not heavy, but Yi Ming could feel the murderous power of CC entangled in his Yuan Shen. He knew that the other party wasn't scaring him, he was doing it. He sighed and said, it seems I have no choice but to go to the sword fight. He Zhang smiled. With your strength, maybe you can get a few more places. Yi Ming couldn't help asking, how many places can one person get? It depends on your ranking. He Chong said, as far as I know, if you rank within 3,000, you can get 3 places, within 1,000, you can get 10 places, within 300, you can get 30. Quotas, plus some unknown rewards. For less than 100, the rewards are even more extraordinary. Quote. He Chong looked forward. If the old man is still young, he will definitely try it. Will be the talents of major civilizations. Yi Ming, when will the sword be held? How to get there? He Zhang. It won't be until 1 year later, when I will take you there. Yi Ming. Are there any requirements for spiritual practice? According to the level theory of martial arts, cultivation can only be martial arts, and other civilizations are probably the same. He Chong said, you are martial arts now, it would be best if you can march into martial arts a year later. Quote. Yi Mingxin said that there is still a year left, and it may not be possible to upgrade Wu Sheng. At that time, maybe he can really get a place. Thinking about this, he said, that being the case, 1 year later, the juniors will definitely come to Jianqi to participate in the sword fight. He Zhang wasn't afraid of Yi Ming's remorse, and laughed. So, there is a labor friend. In order to increase the friend's chance of success, the old man will send you a sword picture, hoping to improve your strength. After all, Yi Ming felt that there was an incomplete sword figure inside the storage ring. Although it was incomplete, he could see that the sword figure was not trivial at a glance, far beyond all the swordsmanship he knew. Even the Nianxian sword formation and the 5 elements sword formation could not be compared with it. This is still a fragmented sword. If it is a complete sword, wouldn't it be more shocking? He was shocked and asked, Senior, where did this sword come from? He Chong laughed. You really know the goods. This sword picture was obtained by accident when the husband just entered the longevity journey. Although it is incomplete, the above swordsmanship is still incredible. Have limited qualifications and only understand I learned the above half sword. Even so, I leaned on it for half a lifetime, and took the seat of the Lord. Quote. Yi Ming was furious, and suddenly felt that the sword figure was extremely hot, and immediately said, such a valuable thing, the younger generation must not accept it. He Zhang sneered. Why, do you think I have a plot for you? Want to use your power to learn more about the content of the sword, and then kill you? Yi Ming was embarrassed, and he did have such concerns. He Zhang said scornfully, when you get to the longevity, you will know how important it is to make friends and make good destinies. This sword figure is the first good destiny between you and me, so you don't have to worry about anything. Having said that, He Chong couldn't help saying, also, people in the longevity are the most willing to share with others and the most willing to **** others. These seeming contradictions are actually inevitable, and you will understand then. Yiming no longer quits at the moment, but he knew that the power of Cheng Shungjing did not need to lie to him, just as human beings would not lie to an ant, so he said, "Thanks a lot. You don't have to thank me as you think, I'm not without personal thoughts. If you can really realize what you want to share with me, I won't treat you badly." He Zongdan said indifferently. Yiming. That's right. Okay, see you in a year. He Zhang waved his hand and issued a guest order. Back at Lu Piaopiao's residence, she quickly asked, "Don't the Lord make things difficult for you?" Yiming smiled lightly. "It's not difficult, it's just a transaction." As for the transaction, he didn't elaborate. Lu Piaopiao wanted to ask, but Yiming didn't say, only said, "What you asked me to do, I did it, let's clear it up, right?" Lu Piaopiao's pretty face suddenly chilled and said, "Of course it is clear." Yiming arched his hand. "That being the case, I leave." "Slow," Lu Piaopiao suddenly said. Yiming's foot was about to be lifted, then fell back, and turned his head strangely and asked, "What else is going on?" "Everyone now knows that I am your woman." Lu Piaopiao looked into his eyes. "You just leave like this, what will others think? They must think you have abandoned me." Yiming had a big head for a while. "Lu Piaopiao, do you think more?" "I don't think much." Lu Piaopiao's face was grim. "So I must go with you and stay with you." Yiming frowned, staring at her instead and asking, "Aren't you going to rely on me?" "Huh, do you have such a charm? I just don't want to be laughed at." Lu Piaopiao looked freely. "Say, do you agree or not?" Yiming could only nod his head. "Okay, if you feel fit, then follow me, but I want to remind you that I will go to the Heaven Demon continent next. There is very dangerous, you are not afraid to follow." Lu Piaopiao snorted, "I'm a martial artist, what are you afraid of?" In this way, two people came out of the sword pond one after the other. As soon as the people came out, Yiming contacted Ma Shanchao, and the four returned to the capital together. At the capital of the gods, Wu Chenying's general mansion, Lu Piaopiao stood behind Yiming in silence, until Yiming introduced her. She nodded slightly to Wu Chenying and looked very arrogant. Yiming didn't bother to care about her, and asked, "Qian Ying, how are you preparing?" Wu Chenying said, "Everything is ready to go at any time. However, we are going to follow the big army, so the time is 5 days later." Yiming. "There are still 5 days left. It seems I can prepare more. I have a way to buy warships in my hand. Would you like to buy some?" Wu Chenying smiled bitterly. "I have limited money and food, and I'm afraid I can't afford it." Yiming. "It doesn't matter, we can think of a way. You just tell me how many soldiers you have and how much money you can give." Wu Chenying thought about it. "As a general, my majesty has 1.5 million soldiers. As for money, only 110 million Valkyrie coins are currently available." Yiming frowned. "The number is indeed too small. It seems that I can only borrow money." Wu Chenying said, "Where can I borrow money?" Yiming laughed. "You must have forgotten that there are Tongli bankers and four-way bankers on the Tianyuan continent. As far as I know, these two bankers have developed very quickly, and they are currently being taught by Hoshin and the 5 elements towards control." Quote. Wu Chenying was startled. "You're going to borrow money from the bank? Their interest is very high, and it's 50% a year." Yiming. "The 50% profit is not high, and our gains to Tianyao continent are immeasurable. Borrowing more money is not a problem. The key is how can we borrow money now?" Wu Chenying. "If you want to borrow money from the bank, you must have sufficient qualifications. Although I am a general, I am afraid I can't borrow much. Anyway, I will borrow this money." Yiming thought about it. "Tonight, I will visit Nalan Yingning." Wu Chenying said. "Visit Nalan Yingning, will she help you?" Yiming smiled. "Speaking of which, the stone bank was built by me as a founder, I should have a little face." Wu Chenying said. "Well then, you try it, it really won't work, it's okay." Yiming was going to visit Nalan. Lu Piao wanted to follow but was rejected by Yi Ming. He felt that it was more convenient to go alone. The premise that Haoshanism was willing to help the Lord of God was that after the completion of the five elements gods, the godliness must fully support Haoshanism, and now the five elements emperor did the same. In the capital of God, believers are widely received. The Haoshan education headquarters is very magnificent. From a distance, a large area of tall buildings is large in scale, and its scale and standard are not under the palace at all. When Yi Ming appeared at the gate of the main hub, someone immediately stepped forward to ask. The Comer looked at Yi Ming with the eyes of inspection, and asked, "Who are you?" Yi Ming said, "I'm here to visit your godfather. Thank you for your information." When the other party heard it, it was a stun, and then they laughed. "You just want to see the leader, do you know what our leader is? What is your identity?" Yi Ming said lightly, "Isn't your tutor the Nolan Yingning? I naturally know her. Also, tell her that my name is Yi Ming. By the way, my other identity is the former leader of Haoshanism." The man was taken aback. No matter how he didn't know it, he knew that the former leader was indeed Yi Ming. Moreover, Yi Ming was so famous that he never heard of it. "Please don't hesitate, the villain will go to Tong Liao." The man hurried away, and within a short while, a Hongqiao flew from the courtyard and fell directly in front of Yi Ming. That Hongqiao is a quasi-physical transformation of the power of the Yuan Shen, which is very realistic. A pleasant female voice sounded. "Brother Yi Ming, you come here, you can't meet far away, hoping to beg forgiveness." Yi Ming smiled. Sister Nolan is polite. After saying that, she set foot on Hongqiao. The Hongqiao shrank automatically, and Yi Ming was taken to a small blue building in lightning. The door of Shaolo was open, and a woman was standing at the door with a smile, with two maids behind her. This woman, dressed up in a palace costume, has the unique style of a mature woman and is extremely charming. Yi Ming repeatedly arched his hands. "Little brother has met Sister Nolan." Giggle. A string of silver bells laughed, and the other party said, "Since you have called my sister, I'll make it bigger and call you Ming brother." Yi Ming grinned. "Be so. Brother Ming, what's your advice here?" Nolan Yingning stared at him, his eyes flowing, not knowing what to think. Yi Ming smiled. "Sister Nolan is not going to invite me to sit. Already have prepared tea, please." Nolan Yingning welcomed Yi Ming into the small building, and the maid brought tea and some water, which are all top grade. The two sides sat down and Yi Ming said, "I remember when I left, but I left a lot of money for Heo Qianzhao. I don't know how much is left." Nolan Yingning pouted and chuckled. Mr. Mingming came from the post. "Can't talk, just ask." Yi Ming said lightly, "Actually I'm here to borrow money." "Borrow money? No matter what." Nolan Yingning didn't expect Yi Ming to have such requirements, with a slight expression on his face. "Yi Ming. Saitong Bank was founded by me, should I borrow some money?" Nolan Yingning Zhao laughed and said, "Brother Ming, you laughed. How can someone like you be short of money?" Yi Ming sneered. "Sister Nolan, we are not telling lies. I want to borrow 20 billion yuan of longevity coins. Do you dare to borrow me?" Nolan Yingning was secretly shocked. The money she can control now is only more than 30 billion yuan. Yi Ming is about to borrow 20 billion yuan at a time, so she has a big appetite. Yi Ming saw that she did not respond for a long time, and said, "I will give you 50% of the interest in 1 year. After 1 year, I will pay you back 30 billion yuan with interest." Nolan Yingning bit her lip slightly, frowned slightly, and said slowly, 20 billion yuan, really a big number. Sister Nolan is slowly thinking about it. "I have always been a believer in Yi Ming. You must do what you say, and you must do what you do. You don't have to worry about me being in trouble. Besides, who can rely on Haoshan's account?" "Ask with a smile." Nolan Yingning asked. "I don't know what Brother Mingming needs so much money for. I want to lead an army to the Tianyao continent, and I need to buy a warship equipment army, but unfortunately I have limited money and can only borrow it." Yi Ming truthfully said. Nolan Yingning said, "I heard that the Tianyao mainland is full of treasures. It seems that, Brother Ming, you want to make a fortune. That is of course. I can't run this trip in vain. Yi Ming said. So every 30 billion yuan, it should not be a problem. Nolan Yingning hesitated for a moment and said, after all, it is a large number, I can't decide immediately, please give me a few days and let me think about it. Yi Ming. As all the battleships I left behind. Nolan Yingning chuckled. Naturally still. Yi Ming. Sister Naland then thinks that if this warship is sold on the Tianyuan mainland, will it be very profitable? Nolan Yingning Chao's face flushed, and she seemed quite excited. She asked, my brother, do you mean that you have a way? Naturally. Yi Ming said, as long as you have money, I can buy as much as I want. It doesn't matter if you make twice as much and make a 30 to 50% profit. Nolan Yingning sighed softly and said, if I met my brother early, I would have gotten rich early. Hee, the matter of borrowing money is settled, and you don't need 50% of the interest, 30% is enough. For the battleship, now I'm going to buy a batch, I don't know the price. Quote. Yi Ming knew that this change of hand was profit, and immediately said, 5-star battleship 4 million long-lived coins, 6-star battleship, 70 million long-lived coins. Nolan Yingning smiled gently. In fact, the 5 elements gods can also be purchased, but as far as I know, their prices are 5.5 million 5-star battleships and 85 million 6-star battleships. Brother, you give the price, it's really cheap. But if I resell it, I'm afraid I won't make a lot of money. Quote. Yi Ming. If the number exceeds 150 billion Chengsheng coins, I can give you 15% off. Nolan Yingning smiled bitterly. 150 billion. Still forget it, I can buy up to 10 billion. Yi Ming's expression of helplessness. Then there will be no way, the price is the lowest. You also said that even if the 5 elements god bought it, it would cost 5.5 million and 85 million. If you wouldn't it be profitable to sell these warships to the 5 elements? Quote. Nolan Yingning said, your suggestion is good. Although the gods can buy warships, they often have to wait a long time. Now the gods are fighting everywhere. When the warships are urgently needed, I can increase the price to sell to the court. Yi Ming smiled. This is a profitable business. Nolan Yingning looked at him. My good brother, why are you helping me like this? I won't help you. How can you borrow my money? Yi Ming was very straightforward. Only if my sister can taste the sweetness, will I recognize my brother, won't I? Nolan Yingning chuckled again, and gently punched Yi Ming. You little bad guy, I like you more and more. Yi Ming sighed. But I don't dare to like my sister, otherwise Ye will eat me. Nolan Yingning's expression froze, with deep fear hidden deep in his eyes, and his expression became serious, and said, I'm going to buy some battleships now. Is it convenient for my brother? Of course it is convenient, anytime, Yi Ming said, I don't know how much you want. Nolan Yingning thought for a while and said, right now, I need 5-star battleships most, and 6-star battleships are also needed in order to equip the believers of Haoshan education. I want 1,000 5-star battleships, 6-star battleships I need 100 ships. At your price, Hao Qianzhao needs to pay 11 billion longevity coins. Quote. Yi Ming said. Pay first, and within 3 days, I can deliver the warship. Nolan Yingning said. No problem. I will give it to you for the 200 billion yuan. Hee, at this moment, I gave you all the bosses of Haoshan education. Yi Ming sneered. This is not the old man at the beginning. I left trillions of fortunes on the land of gods and demons, I'm afraid they all fell into the hands of the 8th Lord. Nolan Yingning smiled bitterly. In your realm, you have too much wealth, so you are not qualified to protect them. In fact, it is not necessarily a bad thing to lose all of them. Who said no? Yi Ming said, but my stuff, I will take it back sooner or later. Nolan Yingning asked strangely, you're not afraid? I'll tell this to Yi Yi. I'm afraid. Yi Ming sneered. Even if you don't say it, that person certainly doesn't want to let me go. Furthermore, I think you should be very disgusted with the so-called Eight Masters, or at least not like him. To be precise, it is fear. Those who have not seen him do not know his strength and fear. Nolan Yingning does not seem to want to mention it. Instead, he said, I advise you not to sin easily before you become a Valkyrie. Oh, why can you fight him only by becoming a martial arts god? Yi Ming asked. Nolan Yingning. It's very simple. Once you are a **** of invincibility, once you become a martial arts god, the world is so big that there are not many people who can control you, not even Ye. Thanks for looking. Yi Ming laughed. Nolan Yingning smiled gently. You must not let me down. Her words were vague, and I didn't know which side it meant. Yi Ming didn't ask. Taking the money, Yi Ming returned directly to the general house. When he put a storage ring containing 31 billion long-lived coins in front of Mai Chenying, the latter subconsciously rubbed his eyes and asked, How did you do that? Yi Ming. It doesn't matter. What's important is how to spend this money. Ma Shanchao hurriedly said, My lord, of course, I bought a warship. So much money is enough to arm 1 million troops. Yi Ming nodded. His Majesty Thousand Shadows has 1.5 million soldiers. Unfortunately, their strength is limited, so we can use up to 5-star battleships to fight against the strongest under the FIFTH level of law and sky. But the Sky Monster continent is very dangerous. Therefore, we can only buy some warships to use. Ma Shanchao. The protagonist said even more that we can buy an 8-star battleship, plus 1,000 advanced battleships. Yi Ming. The 8-star battleship is worth 9 billion long-lived coins, and 1,000 advanced battleships are sold for 10 billion yuan. At this cost, we spent 19 billion yuan. But these 9 billion 8-star battleships are only barges, with limited power, far from being able to fight against the mighty Eternal Life. It turned out that the 9 billion 8-star battleship had limited weapon power as standard, and could at best fight against the Chengsheng Three Realms. But if some weapons are added, the price will be ridiculously high, but the power is even more extraordinary. At best, it can compete with the power of the 8 realms of longevity. Ma Shanchao. You can also purchase an additional, non-life cannon. One non-life cannon is enough to kill the strong men in the Chengsheng 6 realms, and the price is only 2 billion long-life coins. Yi Ming nodded. In this way, the total cost is 21 billion long-lived coins. Hoshan taught that business. We can make 2 billion, so that we have 22 billion on hand. 21 billion was spent, and the remaining 1 billion was just for consumption. Ma Shanchao. This can only be the case now after the Lord's decision. I immediately went to buy. Yi Ming. It's hard. Go quickly. After Ma Shanchao left, Lu Piao, who had been watching indifferently, was so shocked that he couldn't describe it. The guy in front of him actually borrowed 20 billion, then easily earned another 2 billion, and used them to buy an 8-star battleship. It was an 8-star battleship, a war of civilized civilization. She had heard about it and was extremely powerful. Even more shocking is Wu Chenying. A person with such a cold character can't help but be excited, saying, Yi Ming, with this 8-star battleship, our chances of survival in the Heaven Demon continent have greatly increased. Yi Ming. The battleship will be controlled by 1,000 battleships. The main purpose of your 1.5 million army is to collect treasure. Wu Chenying laughed. Yes, such a good opportunity to make money, and such a good preparation, we certainly can't afford to waste. At least we must earn back today's expenses. How about the equipment of other troops? Yi Ming asked. Mai Chenying. As far as I know, the 5 elements gods currently only have 5 8-star battleships and a few low-level battleships. We can sit on an 8-star battleship with 1.5 million people, which is simply miracle. Your thoughts are too simple. Suddenly, Lu Piao sneered. Do you think that with an 8-star battleship, you can run across the Sky Demon continent? The more behemoths like battleships, the more vulnerable they are to local fiends' attack. Yi Ming was startled, looked at Lu Piao and asked, "Do you seem to know the Tianyao mainland?" "Of course, I once read an ancient book, which just recorded some of the situation on the Tianyao continent." Lu Piao said, "I suggest that this 8-star battleship is best to set up an invisible array." Yi Ming repeatedly nodded. "Your suggestion is good. An invisible large array can cost a few dollars, at most 100 million can be solved. I will contact Ma Shanchao." After that, he gave an order to Ma Shanchao through the message sign, let him add an invisible formation to the 8-star battleship. Wu Chenying glanced at Lu Piao and said, "Girl Lu, will you follow us to the Heaven Demon continent?" Lu Piao. "Naturally, I'm Yi Ming's woman. Where he goes, I naturally follow." Yi Ming almost jumped up and called out, "Hey, what are you, my woman? Am I not pretending to be your man in order to make a siege for you? Why do you take it seriously?" Lu Piao sneered. "In the presence of so many people, everyone thinks I have followed you. If you don't admit it, how can I see the world?" Yi Ming was speechless. Was this woman intentional? Wu Chenying gave Yi Ming a strange look and said, "Since this is the case, let's go together. Yi Ming, things start because of you, and everything for girl Lu will be your responsibility." Yi Ming sighed and went back to practice deliberately. It was strange that Lu Piao and Wu Chenying had a good talk. In the room, Yi Ming took out the sword figure presented by He Zhang. The sword figure is circular, missing a piece, and seems to be cut off by something sharp. When Yi Ming's eyes fell on the sword figure, he felt a huge vortex created, and Shengsheng sucked his Yuan Shen into it. If he hadn't cultivated the 9 gods of God, the Yuanshen was extremely powerful, and now he would be comatose and unable to continue enlightenment. The next moment, Yi Ming felt that he had entered a strange space. In that silver light, there was a man standing with a sword. Without a trace of action, he released an indomitable and overwhelming sword, making Yi Ming's Yuan Shen imprisoned and feeling unprecedented pressure. Yi Ming stared at the man, felt the potential in his sword, and realized in his heart. In this strange Tiemayan space, he could not feel the change of time. Maybe it took a quarter of an hour, or maybe 100,000 years, and he finally imprinted the other person's mysterious potential in his heart and grasped it all. Immediately, Yi Ming Yuan was ejected from the space and opened his eyes suddenly. Yeah, he was surprised. This sword picture is really not simple. It made me grasp the sword for the first time. It seems that in the tribe's homeland, I have learned a lot, otherwise I would never realize it so easily. And if it weren't for my Yuanshen being arrogant enough, it wouldn't have been possible to enter into it and carry that kind of sword. Quote. I don't know how long it has been. Yi Ming saw the sky outside was bright, and pushed out the door. Outside the door, Ma Shanchao waited for him, seeing him come out, and asked happily, "Did the protagonist rise again?" Yi Ming shook his head and said, "I just learned a little bit of sword power." "When is it now?" Ma Shanchao said. "The army has gathered at the school. After half an hour, the army will set off. If the protagonist does not go out of the customs again, I will not be able to go in and wake up the protagonist." Yi Ming was startled. It's been so long, half an hour. How is the preparation for the battleship? Ma Shanchao. Everything is ready. In addition to the 8-star battleship and equipment required by the protagonist, Hao Tianzhao's 1005-star battleships and 106-star battleships have also been handed over. Yi Ming nodded. "Follow me to Haoshan to teach. I will deliver the warship first, and then we will rush to the schoolyard." Ma Shanchao nodded, and the master and servant quickly went to Haotianzhao. In the past few days, Nalan Yingning was actually restless. She was really worried about any accidents or omissions on Yi Ming's side. No matter what the situation was, she couldn't bear it. Fortunately, she finally waited for Yi Ming and the battleship she purchased. All the battleships were the size of a slap, and they were neatly packed in a box and looked nothing. But with a little urging, they will turn into giant warships. Yi Ming handed over the instructions for use of the battleship to Nalan Yingning, and laughed, "The battleships are all here. If you need anything in the future, you can find me. I can provide you with a 7-star battleship or even an 8-star battleship, and battleship equipment. Quote. When it comes to battleship equipment, he deliberately took a related introduction map to the other side, which recorded the prices and uses of various guns, battleship formations, battleships, and so on, which are very detailed. Nolan Yingning only took one look, then he couldn't remove his eyes and said, I will have to buy some more money later. These equipments are so useful. Yi Ming laughed. I hope we will still cooperate. Nolan Yingning smiled softly. Brother, the army is about to leave, and my sister wishes you success. No matter what, you must come back alive, or who is my 20 billion person looking for? Yi Ming grinned. Sister, don't worry, I can't bear you. Nolan Yingning took a sip and then giggled. Yi Ming and Ma Shanchao finally appeared on the school ground in time. I saw the school ground full of people. One battleship was standing in the air, and the battleship was full of people. Wu Chenying's army are all on a 6-star battleship. This 6-star battleship was purchased by Ma Shanchao. After all, the 8-star battleship is too eye-catching, and it is really not suitable for taking out in such a place. In the center, there are 5 8-star battleships and 1 9-star battleship. When he saw the 9-star battleship, he deliberately observed it carefully, and determined that this battleship was not the one he lost, and he was a little comforted inside. The two landed on a 6-star battleship, and Wu Chenying and others have been waiting for a long time. When they saw someone, they said, Start soldiers immediately, don't talk. The scene gradually calmed down. On the 9-star battleship, a red light rose, and a red shore figure was displayed in the red light, and the sound of thunder was issued. The generals listened to orders. This is to go to the Heaven Demon continent, the goal is to kill the evil demon evil. All generals are forbidden and offenders are cut off. Quote. The young people are the 8th master of Haoshan education, and also the governor of the 5 elements gods, with a high status. He then announced the number of the ministry and the general. Under the governor, there are 4 armies, each army has a field marshal. Under the field marshal, there are 10 to dozens of generals, called army. During this trip, there were more than 100 million troops. Most of them were elite and well equipped, led by the governor himself. Most of these governors are named Tianyi. Yi Ming was observing Tianyi below, and felt that his realm was very master, at least the character of Chengsheng realm. As for the level, he could not know. After the order was completed, each marshal summoned the generals, announced military orders, and so on unconsciously. Most of the time passed. Yi Ming was very impatient, and pulled Ma Shanchao to the cabin for tea and chat early. Even Lu Piaopiao and He Jing followed. Finally, the battleship started slowly, and Wu Chenying also came down in the cabin. She complained. You are so leisure, let me suffer alone. Yi Mingle said. You are a general, you don't even listen to the military order. How can you fight this battle? Wu Chenying sneered. Marshal and Xiaju speculatively arranged our army to the outpost position, and if there is any danger, we will bear the brunt. Yi Mingqi said. Must you offend the other party, otherwise why are you so targeted? Wu Chenying. The other generals gave gifts early, but I did not give them. Yi Ming shook his head. Thousands of shadows, sometimes you don't know how to be flexible, just a few dollars, and end up putting yourself in a dangerous situation. I don't think this is a bad thing. Lu Piaopiao said, it is dangerous for us to explore the road ahead, but once we find something, it is ours. But that Engxi said, any gain must be turned over to the treasury, and it must be delivered to him first. Wu Chenying sneered, he is really greedy. Yi Ming stood up instantly, angrily, Wang bastard, he wants to be beautiful. Ma Shanchao's eyes turned and he said, Sir, I have an idea, which can reduce risks and allow us freedom. Yi Ming hurriedly said, hurry up. Ma Shanchao said, foreigners only know that we have 6-star battleships, but we don't know that we have 8-star battleships. In that case, we can just send a few battleships and let them drive the 6-star battleship ahead. And it is entirely possible to sit on the 8-star battleship, explore further afield, and look for resources on the continent. Quote. Yi Ming's eyes brightened and he couldn't help laughing. This is a good idea. Then he looked at Wu Chenying. Wu Chenying said hesitantly, saying, "This is against military orders. Once found, it is a capital crime. If you don't take risks, your million-strong army might be artillery fodder." Yi Ming said, "And everyone is on a ship. Who will disclose the news? Your soldiers. Or us?" Wu Chenying thought for a moment, and finally said, "Let's just listen to you and leave the 6-star battleship, and we will go deeper into other areas. But what will we do if the 6-star battleship is in danger?" Yi Ming. Battleships are very powerful. If you can't even deal with them, you can only lose your luck. There are traffic laws on the battleships. We can also choose to hurry back to deal with this unexpected incident. My Chenying. Well, I hope we can make a worthwhile trip. The 6-star battleship flew fast to the teleportation array. The teleportation array is located in a deserted suburb, and is hosted by 10 long-lived powers to control it in an open state. Above the large array, a huge vortex connected another world. It was large and small, and it did not look stable. In the center of the vortex, it is dark, giving people an inexplicable sense of fear. All battleships gathered around. These warships are not all from war civilization. Some warships are very weak and their biggest function is to hold people. If Wu Chenying hadn't got Yi Ming's help, her soldiers would be in such garbage warships. The battleships stopped one after another. Suddenly, a 7-star battleship stopped on the side of the Chenying army. A young man flew out of the battleship. His eyes were round and his spirit was very high. Stepping on a magical instrument and flying as intended, he landed directly on the Chenying army ship, smiled and said, "Chenying, I didn't expect you to have a warship available, I underestimated you." Several people in Yi Ming were talking, and suddenly heard such a person emerge, frowning. Wu Chenying said, "The Comer is called Yu Peng, fought in 6 realms, and the general of the 42nd Army. For nearly half a year, I have been trying to approach me and have been blocked by me." Yi Ming smiled. "It seems he is looking after you. Chenying, would you like to think about it?" Someone who is so lonely as Wu Chenying also stared at Yi Ming severely. "You have to think about it." Yi Ming was speechless for a while, and could only laugh. Although he did not like to come, Wu Chenying went out to meet him. It was just that she hadn't gotten out of the cabin yet, and the other party actually walked in first. Seeing so many people at a glance, it seemed that they were more intimate with Wu Chenying. Yu Peng's face was hard to look at once, and he asked, "Qian Ying, where are these 2 boys coming from? Do you have soldier? Why not wear armor?" Quote. Yi Ming and Ma Shanchao are both casual clothes, not wearing armor, so very dazzling. Wu Chenying raised her eyebrow and scolded, "Yipeng, this is my battleship, you have no right to ask questions." Yu Peng snorted, "As a colleague, I have the right to investigate the monster spy." Yi Ming was so angry that he and Ma Shanchao put on a spy hat as soon as the other party came up. This was to put him to death. He grinned, staring at the other person and asking, "Yes, I'm a spy. What can you do to me?" When Yu Peng was stunned, he never expected Yi Ming to admit it directly, not to mention, the so-called spy was just an excuse he just compiled. But after a while, he laughed and said, "Boy, spy is going to be executed, let's die." Boom. Before waiting for Yu Peng to take a shot, an overwhelming trend emerged, covering the entire ship. Even the masters such as Yu Peng were also stiff, and their brains were blank. In this brief moment, a ray of sword light shot out of Yi Ming's sleeve, and wrapped around Yu Peng's neck, his great head rolled down to the ground, and blood spilled out of the cabin. Yi Mingyi recruited Yipeng's life and called Xiaoqiang. Xiao Chang Fen. After being bombarded and killed, this deity is also affected. In recent years, he has been in retreat for hardships. He has only been out of the customs not long ago. You will be Yipeng in the future to take over his army. Yi Ming said lightly. Wu Chenying was shocked. Yi Mingtan killed, and now he still wins the military power. These memes are really popular and cruel. Xiao Qiang grinned, stretched out his hand and grabbed the corpse, and then captured Yipeng's broken yuanshan. He wanted to extract the memory of the other party to facilitate the management of the army. Master, I'm going. Xiao Qiang greeted him, changed into Yipeng's clothes, and returned to the 7-star battleship with a swing. With Xiao Qiang doing side effects, we are safer, Yi Ming said. It is also more convenient to do things. After the army had assembled, they rushed into the sky and entered the whirlpool. At the other end of the vortex, the sky monster land is connected, unknown opportunities and dangers are waiting for everyone. Yi Ming's gang were the first group of people to enter. As soon as they entered the vortex, they kept spinning, and all fell to the ground, and their feet were unstable. It wasn't until half an hour later that the battleship calmed down, while light penetrated from the outside, and there were sounds of low or sharp beasts. Here, Yi Ming rushed out of the cabin for the first time, and saw that the sky outside was extremely high, the land was extremely vast, and the scenery was very different from the Tianyuan continent. Here is the Heaven Demon continent. Yi Ming murmured. Directly in front of it, a huge mountain peak up to 10,000 miles into the sky, surrounded by endless forests, grasslands, and large rivers everywhere. This Day Demon continent is far wider than that of the Tianyuan continent, and its scenery is very magnificent and rough. Any mountain can become the first peak of Tianyuan, any river can be the largest river of Tianyuan. How do I feel awful? Ma creature with a huge size is often difficult to deal with. Other warships also appeared one after another, and countless people were shocked by the landscape here. At the same time, Marshal Engxi's order was also issued, and the Chenying army and the other 7 armies traveled thousands of miles in one direction in front of each other and stationed as outposts. With the order, my Chenying immediately ordered the battleship to go southeast. After traveling for thousands of miles, I entered an endless forest, where the trees are extremely tall, and any tree is dozens of miles tall and looks like a mountain peak. Entering the forest, my Chenying immediately ordered the soldiers to enter the 8-star battleship, and leave the 6-star battleship in place. Yi Ming piloted the 8-star battleship, slowly flying through the woods in midair. Because the trees are huge, even the 8-star battleship can fly between the trees without any obstruction. There is a cave in the 8-star battleship, which can store a lot of materials and personnel. Within the cave, there is a crystal wall, which can clearly show the situation outside the ship, and can even enlarge the partial image, which is very easy to observe. Looking at the rough scene outside, Yi Ming said with emotion, "This demon continent is really not suitable for living. I don't know how many peerless beasts we have here. We must be careful not to provoke such existence." The battleship flew for another moment, and everyone saw that a group of ants with such a large head were moving densely on the ground and on the trees, all moving in one direction. These ants are really big, and I feel that they are not easy to kill because of their steel bars. Yi Ming exclaimed, "What are they doing in such a hurry?" Ma Shanchao. It's better to look at it. The battleship accelerated in the ants' advanced direction. Surprisingly, this army of ants is actually hundreds of miles long. When everyone saw the front of the army of ants, a group of green and gold ants was very noticeable. They are larger, about the same as pigs and sheep, and they don't scream in their mouths, they seem to be guiding the army of ants. In the center of many green and gold ants, there is a huge queen, the size of an elephant. The queen is purple. It must be carried by the ants to move forward. Is the ant moving? Lu Piao speculated. Yi Ming shook his head. No, I feel they are more like tracking prey. No one knew what the ants were doing, and Yi Ming and others followed them patiently. For 1 hour and 2 hours, these ants marched like electricity and unknowingly walked thousands of miles away. Finally, the army of ants slowed down, and everyone saw that there were 2 purple and red brilliants in front of them. The sky was even more thunderclouds, making loud noises and shaking the ground. Yi Ming drove the warship slowly towards it, and the warship sailed into the clouds. He could not fly and could only fly low. Gradually, everyone finally saw that a giant snake was fighting a giant mouse in the forest. The snake, at least hundreds of miles long, is as thick as a mountain, and if it rolls around, it can smash countless giant trees to the ground. Although the mouse was not so big, it was like a hill, with strong teeth and flexible movements. The surface of the snake rat releases purple light and red light respectively. Their functions are similar to the strength of a warrior's body, but they are much more powerful. What a big snake! Everyone exclaimed. Yi Ming had read countless books in the Confucian and Taoist civilizations, and immediately found relevant information, saying, "It's called Junshan python, and the adult Junshan python is enough to kill the masters of Chengsheng 6 realms. That mouse is the wolverine, which is equally powerful, is the natural enemy of Junshan boa. Once they meet, they must be born and die." Quote. After listening to Yi Ming's introduction, everyone was embarrassed. This python can actually kill Chengsheng 6 realms. Then, when it reaches the Tianyuan continent, isn't it a hegemonic existence? Master, what shall we do? Ma Shanchao asked. Yi Ming laughed. Of course it is to sit in the mountains and watch the tiger fight. The battle between Junshan boa and King Kong rat ends most of the time with both defeats. You see so many ants come over to eat their bodies. We wait, it won't take long to see what happens. Quote. Is there any baby on this snake rat? Lu Piao asked. Yi Ming nodded. The body of earthquake python is a stunned monster called earthquake monster. This is very precious, with a slight inscription modification. It is the famous earthen pearl. Earthen pearl can be used for laying large. The array can also be used for cultivation. Similarly, the Vajra rat has a Vajrayana, which can be made into gold beads, which is of equal value. Ma Shanchao asked. Master, how much is this pearl worth? Yi Ming. If you enter the auction, it will cost less than 100 million long-lived coins. As for how much you can compete, it is hard to say. It may be 200 million or 1 billion. Between the words, the battle between Junshan boa and the Vajra has heated up. The python suddenly entangled the Vajra and tightened it tightly. The Vajra also bit the python's neck and tore off a large piece of flesh. The scene was very tragic. Most of Junshan's neck was eaten, and the Vajra was also severed, and all the internal organs were broken, like a piece of soft meat. Only his mouth was still desperately biting. Finally, Junshan boa stopped moving and stopped breathing. The donkey was also motionless and badly injured. It's almost there, Yi Ming said. Let people above Wujun prepare sharp weapons. These 2 things are treasures: snake skin, snake bones, rat teeth, and whiskers. They are very precious, don't waste them. At this moment, the surrounding ant colony had already begun to surround him. Yi Ming immediately gave an order to the battleship, a white light shot, and enveloped the Vajra and Junshan python. Immediately a lift emerged, ingesting them into the 8-star battleship. The ants, who were preparing for a meal around them, burst into fury and stared at each other in the direction of the 8-star battleship. Yi Ming didn't want to do anything with them, and immediately accelerated. The 8-star battleship quickly left the scene. The ant colony was screaming and still chasing after each other, but unfortunately they were not as fast as the battleships and were soon left behind. In the small hole of the 8-star battleship, the dying Junshan python and the severely wounded Vajra were placed on the flat ground. The donkey mouse was lying on the ground, motionless, and a pair of eyes were staring at Yi Ming, full of threatening, and seemed to warn him not to approach. Yi Ming stood 10 steps away from the Vajra rat and said, "Your injury is too serious, I can't save you." At this moment, the treasure hunt rat suddenly jumped out, standing on Yi Ming's shoulder, dangling and squeaking. Yi Mingqi said, "Little treasure, do you want me to save it?" The treasure hunt mouse nodded, still squeaking. Yi Ming frowned. "You want me to save it with the immortal tree. But you have to understand that the energy of the immortal tree is limited. To save it, it will go to sleep." The treasure hunt rat squeaked again. Yi Ming heard his eyes light up and said, "It turns out that you sense a lot of treasures, and you will help me find them one by one. But I don't understand why you must save it. Is it because they are also rats? Quote. The treasure hunt rat expressed a pass, Yi Ming said in surprise. So, you want to find it as your wife, but you are so small, isn't this right? The treasure hunt rat is a male rat, while the diamond rat is a female rat. The rat always admired the strong among its kind. When it saw the strength of the Vajra, it wanted it. Also told Yi Ming that the bulk is not a problem, because the gangster can be as big and small as it can be as big as it is. Yi Ming sighed. Okay, let me try. The immortal tree not only absorbs life force, but also releases life force and saves all souls. When Yi Ming moved, a strand of roots fell from the void and plunged into the body of a Vajra. The next moment, a lot of vitality, billowing into the body of the Vajra. The wounds of the Vajra began to disappear quickly, and a pair of godless eyes slowly became clear. Seeing the recovery of the Vajra, Yi Ming yelled, Vajra, I will save your life today. Would you like to be my principal and be my wife of Xiaobao? The Vajra rat gave a disdainful look, and in his opinion, Yi Ming and Xiaobao were too weak to deserve it. Yi Ming certainly understood his thoughts, and immediately sneered. The roots that infused vitality suddenly began to extract its vitality in turn. After a while, the donkey was convulsed and screamed, screaming. His head moved repeatedly, indicating that he agreed with Yi Ming's conditions. Where did Yi Ming believe that this beast was really willing, and said, Open your Yuanshan, I will engrave the prohibition in it in the future. Once you have a rebellion, I only need one thought to make you fly away. The donkey mouse did not dare to disobey, let out the Yuan Shen obediently, and Ren Yi Ming engraved it on the prohibition. This prohibition is completely under the. Next, the immortal tree continued to inject vitality, and the wolverine finally recovered 30 to 50%. However, the immortal tree shrank back into a seed, and slept in Yi Ming's sea of knowledge. As soon as the Vajra rat recovered, he immediately extended his claws and pierced the heart of Junshan Boa fiercely. He took out a large watermelon pill that was the essence of pill, and then swallowed it. Under the predation of the natural enemy, the donkey mouse immediately gave birth to a lively tiger. Not only did the injuries all recover, but the physical fitness seemed to increase tremendously. Yi Ming didn't feel distressed. With the help of a Vajra, it was able to find more precious things. After all, there are many ferocious beasts like King Kong rat and Junshan python in the Sky Demon continent. In front of them, the human warrior is really too weak and not an opponent at all. After taking Nadan, the wolverine shook his body and became the size of an ordinary house mouse. Its fur is red, looks like a heavy flame, and looks very nice. The treasure-hunting mouse approached it cheerfully. The former was not exclusive, but just stared at Xiaobao. It seemed not very happy. Yi Ming said, Xiaobao, I helped you with your wife. Next, you and your husband and wife should work for me. Xiaobao connected his head. It seemed to say that the master, please rest assured, my Xiaobao must do everything he can. The 8-star battleship moved slowly, and has entered another area of the forest, cruising along a huge river. Traveling to the area with huge shoals on both banks of the river, Yi Ming suddenly saw a woman wearing animal skins running on the river beach. Her beautiful long legs are strong and powerful, flying like electricity. Yi Ming has seen many beauties, and the dances around him and Lu Piaopiao are all upright. But in terms of figure, they can't compare with this woman's long, beautiful legs, full of vitality. Yi Ming deliberately enlarged the image. It can be seen that the woman's appearance is also very beautiful. She is born with gold and her eyes are blue and clear. White, Yi Ming muttered. He had been to the human race and knew that people were white and yellow. In his opinion, the people of the Tianyuan continent are mostly of yellow blood, although a few are mixed. The characteristics of white people are not obvious. But this running woman is definitely a purebred white. For a while, 3 figures appeared in the rear. To be precise, they are not normal people. Although they are humanoid, they have no shoes on their feet, and they have 3 toes. They have sharp claws on them, and their feet are covered with blue scales. In addition, the eyes of these 3 people are purple, their pupils are much larger than ordinary people, and their hair is fiery red. It seems that they are not humans, they should be aliens who come to hunt. Ma Shanchao said. Yi Ming searched the memory, but he couldn't judge the origin of the three, and immediately said, I'll go and see. Don't act lightly, so as not to expose your tracks. Having said that, he beckoned, and the Vajra and treasure hunt rat jumped into his sleeves. As soon as he was in shape, he fell down and flew not far. The running woman immediately found Yi Ming. Yi Ming smiled, waved his hand, and asked, Hello. This way of greeting, he still learned from the earth. During his time on earth, he didn't sit idle and learned the languages of all ethnic groups. The woman froze and asked in shock, Are you from the ancestral land? When Yi Ming saw that the other person understood the words on the earth, he immediately knew the so-called ancestral land, which is the earth, so he nodded, Is your ancestral land the earth? I am not the person there, but I've been there. Quote. The woman glanced back, the three figures were getting closer, and she sighed, I am chased by a powerful monster, you go quickly. If you have a chance, please go to the Yinwei tribe to tell my family and let them immediately move out of here. Quote. Yi Ming asked, What are the three things behind? Why do people chase you? They are powerful creatures of a big world. They came to the Tianyao continent for hunting. Right now, I am their prey. The woman's eyes showed deep sorrow. For generations, our tribe has not been able to escape such a fate. Quote. Yi Ming, what's your name? My name is Anika. The woman urged again. You run away or you will become a prey. Yi Ming said. Anika, follow me, I will help you get rid of them. Anika snapped. You help me. Yi Ming nodded. Although I don't know the specific strength of those three things, but I measure them not more than Wu Sheng, it is not difficult to deal with them. 566 Anika apparently didn't know what level of Wu Sheng was, and she asked in surprise, Can you deal with them? Yi Ming nodded. Don't ask any more, follow me. After speaking, he pulled Anika and jumped straight into the river. The river is thousands of miles wide, the environment in the river is complicated, the reefs are lined with many creatures, and even the locals rarely go. Anika was so scared that she turned pale, and cried, The river is more dangerous. Yi Ming said. It doesn't matter, follow me. I don't know when, the diamond rat gets out of the cuff, sticks to Yi Ming's shoulder, and releases a terrifying atmosphere. Although the creatures in this river are powerful, they may not be as many as the Vajra, so most of them dare not approach. On the river bank, the three aliens all showed annoyed expressions, and one of them carrying a bow and arrow cursed, The prey actually committed suicide, and it's so disappointing to me. In their opinion, Anika's weak creature had no choice but to enter the river. The creatures in the river are so powerful that they are not good at all.